sure you guys look for so many, kind of apprenticeship that's available there. So why Acas?
Well, something that made Acas stand out for me was all of the different apprenticeship opportunities that they were offering. To me, an apprenticeship was a really good opportunity as it's an option again, qualification, and develop my skills whilst also gaining experience of working full time in a job that I really wanted to do. Acas stood out as a really good option for me as it's part of the civil service. Therefore, I knew they would support me with lots of learning and career development opportunities. Specifically Acas though, when I was doing some research, I really thought that they seemed like they had a good culture and value, especially the whole aim to improve the working life of everyone in Britain. This therefore stood out to me and showed that they really valued their employees, therefore I thought it would be a really good place to work.
At a uni, my professor of labour law, he was very much a big fan of Acas, so I had very, very positive in terms of feedback, in terms of the work which Acas do. So, and I was also very much familiar with the work which Acas done in terms of its research and in terms of its policy guidance in relation to employment law and labour relations. And I was very much interested in that. So for me, that was like the main thing, and the apprenticeship added in this particular role an extra pull factor for me because I wanted to continue my education, but at the same time do have some real work experience. So this role and Acas kind of perfectly matched those things.
I'd be interested to know what challenges you experienced when you went into the apprenticeship.
Yeah, so I joined Acas in February last year, and I'd say the biggest challenge that I faced was obviously it was a time when it was more to work from home due to COVID. Therefore, when I was onboarded, it was all done remotely and from home. So it was quite unusual and rather difficult at first, like not meeting the team in person and doing like everything virtually. Because of these difficulties, I felt like I was offered a lot more extra training and shadowing opportunities for people on my team. But day to day, I often find challenges within like my work, like tasks that I'm set within my apprenticeship. Sometimes I struggle with particular topics, but whenever I have these problems, I have so many people who are there to support me. For example, I have my talent coach, I have Rosalind, I have other apprentices.
At times you don't get to meet other apprentices in person, but Rosalind has very nicely from the very beginning organised an apprenticeship network, so we meet on a semi-regular basis just to talk through any issues and how we are going about our apprenticeships and working lives. So that has been quite helpful in terms of having a channel to discuss casually any sort of struggles or any challenges or things which we have done, which we should celebrate as a team. So that has been a very nice outlet to kind of counter that inherent challenge of working virtually. Other than that, there hasn't that many significant challenges, and where there has been, my line manager has been super supportive for me to just pursue my apprenticeship work, and then we'll worry about the work stuff related. So that has been very helpful.
I also have my manager, all of my team, and the option that Rosalind gave us of having a buddy who is an experienced member of staff from a different department who can provide us with any help with things that we're struggling on. So yeah, any challenges that I've had, I've found that I've been really supported with overcoming them.
So one of my biggest concerns at the beginning was how was I going to manage my time working as well as learning. But as soon as I started, within the first 2 or 3 weeks, I was very much supported in terms of having a very specific day on which I could do my learning and just focus on that. Also, there was quite a lot of flexibility in terms of how I approach my work and how I schedule my time so that it does not clash with my apprenticeship. So any sort of work which would clash with my apprenticeship, I would talk to my line manager, and he would always support me in terms of go for your apprenticeship stuff. We could reschedule the work on a later date, on at a time. So that support and inherent flexibility within Acas has been very helpful in terms of me personally managing my time and focusing my attention on my learning as I'm working as well.
So each of you, your top 2 tips for success based upon your own experience for future apprentices. Haris first, please.
So I would say have a very clear timetable from very early on, and lose your learning there very wisely, because otherwise what will happen is you will end up doing a lot of stuff at the very end, and you don't want that. You want to schedule it out very nicely throughout your 18 or 12 months, how long the apprenticeship lasts, so you can ensure that you are properly using time. As you move forward, you will be doing more work in terms of your own role. You will have more responsibility, so there's stress to that, as well as doing exams at the end of your apprenticeship.
Yes, I'd say one of the main things that I would encourage new apprentices to do would be to take advantage of all opportunities offered. For example, opportunities for extra training, any development experiences within and outside of your day-to-day job role. I'd really say make sure you engage in all networking opportunities and offer and accept support from other apprentices who are going through similar things. I'd say that was really important, and it can really help you out. I'd say another top tip would be to really stay organised and plan your time. I would track my progress and ensure that you're on track to meet your goals, and if you're struggling to meet your goals, speak out and tell people that you need support, as there's always people wanting to help you succeed.
So it would be nice to think about what your future looks like in Acas. Is it somewhere you want to be long time, short time? What are your plans?
As of now, I'm just primarily focused upon my apprenticeship, and just to ensure that I finish it on time with good grades. And once I have done that, my aim is to essentially work somewhat closer with employment relations or labour law, because that is my main interest. And doing these apprenticeships and working with stakeholders who have been involved in collective conciliation, labour policy, it has been so helpful in terms of understanding their worldview and how they think and what actually goes beyond that final end result.
My future after Acas, well, I believe that Acas has lots of different development and progression opportunities, so I'd really like to make the most of those. Once I have my qualification, I would really like to use it to help me develop and improve within my own role and the current role that I am doing. However, I think it's important to continue learning. So if I was to leave my current role, I'd really like to look into learning skills around HR and recruitment. I'd use my business admin qualification that I'm currently doing, as well as looking to complete any new necessary training to be able to fit into other roles. I also think that with Acas being a part of the civil service, I have the benefit of a vast range of development opportunities, and I would also consider the possibility of looking at different government departments and continue to take up any learning opportunities that are thrown my way.